Alright, and welcome to tutorial number 2 for using GitHub for our assignments here in WDD 221 Internet Programming with JavaScript. So hopefully you've already been able to clone your repository down and you have it saved on your computers. So what we're going to be looking at now is how do we actually do our assignments. So it's going to be broken up into two parts. The first one we're going to look at, now that it's cloned down, how do we open it, what that's going to look like. Then I'm going to show you guys for all of your other assignments and for all of the guided activities you perform and JavaScript challenges. So any of the work web related that we're doing in this class, all of it needs to get saved up to this repository. That's how I'm going to view your code. That's how I can give you guys feedback on GitHub. And more importantly, that's how we're going to have a live website throughout the class. I'll show you guys that in part 3's tutorial after this one. But for this, really, we're going to look like how do we edit our code? How do we make sure that me, Chris, your instructor, can actually see your code? It's super important that you follow some of these steps. Just like the other one, there'll be that nice PDF step-by-step tutorial and the link that you can click through and follow along. So hopefully you can't get lost too easily. So with that, let's take a look. Alright, so we are already in our Blackboard course. Obviously mine says student preview mode is on because, you know, student preview mode. So remember already we did our upload a GitHub Classroom assignment. We clicked our link. We got taken to GitHub Classroom just one last time. Hopefully you could select your name. I'm going to skip that because I'm not part of the class roster. If you ever forget, you can always click that link, go through that process, and it'll get you back to that github.com/sscspring24/your repository name, right? We did our code and our open with GitHub desktop. So from here, let's say we picked it up on a different day. I'm going to do my Windows key or click my Windows button, open up that search because I never remember where things are. We're going to go ahead and open up GitHub desktop. Once GitHub desktop's open, right here up in that top corner, here I'll expand that out so we can see it a little bit better. Up here in that top, you can see your current repository. We're in that WDD 221 landing page repo. From here, there's no local changes, meaning we haven't touched our code. It is exactly like it was when you cloned it down. What I'm going to do is just click that open in Visual Studio Code button right there in the middle. I personally use Visual Studio Code. If you like Notepad++, Sublime Text, whatever rich text editor of choice that has syntax highlighting, feel free to use your favorite. Visual Studio Code is just my happy place. It's what I use for work every day. It's what I use for all my personal side projects. So I have a pretty nice setup going. So I'm just going to click on that and let Visual Studio Code open up. Bring that over here onto that monitor for us. And now we are looking at the folder where our code is. Obviously, I gave you guys a little bit of a base template. It's got that README that talks about what's going on. It's got our MIT license, so it's licensed nice and safe. And I gave you a base index HTML with the really nice tags of a standard HTML file. Everything looks good. There's a favicon. You can update your own. I used one of my personal ones. So from here, now if we go back to our assignment, right, get back a bunch, get back to our assignment. So if we're looking at our week 1 lab, we need to update a landing page. That's that index HTML. It needs to be free from spelling grammar. Files are compressed. Files are submitted to the Dropbox/GitHub, and the web page needs to function. So right now, all we're really looking at doing is building that fluid navigation. There's a rubric attached and everything else. So if we go over here, up in that head, you can add your nav. I'm just going to add some content just so there's a change in our file. This is me for a tutorial adding content. And then we'll do a Control S so it's saved. Now I've made a change. And just like in our other HTML classes, right? If we go to our File Explorer, I go to my Git folder, right? Because that's where it's cloned down. Go into the repo. I can double click that. And depending on where Edge is hiding, I'm going to say use Chrome today. Just once because I don't want to break all my configs. And somewhere There we go. On our Chrome tab, we can now say, hey, there's our test site, right? So as you write your code, you can save and refresh and you'll be able to see your changes. But for this, now, if we go back to GitHub desktop, right? It'll refresh, it'll take a second, and notice how that message, no local changes, has gone away. And now I can see I have one changed file, and it looks like I removed and added a line. That's just because it gets confused every once in a while. But more importantly, right there on line 16, we can see this is me for a tutorial adding content. We can see that change was made. This is the most important part of this tutorial. If you listen to anything, listen to this. You've made your changes. You're done with your lab. You're ready to submit to grade. Down here in that bottom left corner, you need to add your commit message. This commit message is a log in GitHub, and I'll show you, and it shows, hey, someone did something. So here I can say updated index.html. You can add more of a description. This is me adding more context to the changes. Then you click commit to main. Now in GitHub, we have branches, right? And we're just going to run off our main branch. In bigger projects, you can have a lot of branches to do a lot of work. For this, we're just looking at our main. So we've committed it. Now that has told GitHub, hey, someone's made this change locally. And by locally, I mean on your computer and your computer alone. No one else would know what you've done yet. What you need to do is right here in the center, we can see it. There's that blue box that says push commits to the origin remote. Until you've pushed to origin and click that button, it is not up on github.com. Once you've clicked it and that message has gone away, if we go back to Chrome and back to our repository, I'm going to do a quick little refresh on the tab. Now we can see there's a new commit. Right here, we can see that I updated the index.html 1 minute ago. And now if you were to go to your index, you can see it. And if I click on it in GitHub, I can see that change is there. If that change is there, that means you have successfully pushed your code up and can tell me it's ready to be graded. That is how you can edit your files in GitHub. So every time you need to add new links to your navigation, that's the way you're going to do it. Now on to part 2. In part 2, we're going to talk about with all of these guided activities, and as we go farther into the semester, we're going to be looking at, I'll give you starter files for your assignments. Those starter files need to follow along or get added to the repositories so I can see them and your whole website looks complete at the end of the semester. I'm not too picky about how you are going to organize this project. If you want folders for each week, if you want one for guided activities, that is totally up to you. As long as your navigation works for it, have at it the way that makes sense to you. For me, I'm going to go into my folders right now, and I'm just going to add a quick new folder. So I'm going to right click, go new folder, and I'm going to call this guided activities. Remember, spaces cause problems, so make sure you're not adding spaces to your folder names. It'll just make your life easier in the long term. If you don't like it smashed together, use underscores or dashes, something. Do not use special characters. Do not use spaces. Things break all the time because of it. So now that I added that folder, I'm just going to have that prepped. Now I'm going to look at my guided one activity, and right here there's that link for the starter file, so I'll click on that. We'll get that download. So I'll go to my file explorer, go to my downloads. You'll select it, right click. Where's the extract all? You'll get this message to pop up. You can change it. I'm just going to say show the extract files when it's complete and pull it out. So now I have access to that starter file. From here, before you do anything else, right? So we have our starter file. Open another instance of File Explorer, right? Go to your Git folder, go to your repository, and put it wherever you want that file to be. So in this case, I built that guided activities. I'm going to drag it over here. So I'm going to move it to that folder. I'm going to right click. I'm going to rename it to make sure I always know what it is. And I'm going to say week 1 underscore guided act. That way for me, I know, hey, it's a week 1. So then if I do week 2s, week 3s, maybe then it's week 8 before I do one again. I have a running total of which ones are there and I know which starter file is which. Now you can easily go back to Visual Studio Code, right? You can open it up if it's not already there, and there you can see what our activity file looks like. You can see that it's green in Visual Studio Code for my theme to show me that it's an updated file and it needs, you made changes. Now we could go through and follow along with our guided activity, make sure we've made our changes. When you're completed with your guided activities, then same as before, we go back to GitHub Desktop, add your commit message. So did the activity, hit commit to main, wait for it to finish, hit push to origin. And now your guided activity file is part of your overarching website, and I'll have access to it and we can all view it and comment and work with it. The big thing is to always download the starter files you need, move them into the appropriate folders on your GitHub repository folder, and then do the work. That way you know it's already in GitHub and you can make sure to commit and push. I recommend anytime you work on it, once you're done working for that day, maybe you're not done yet, just commit it and push it anyway so it's always up to date. So then if you ever get stuck on something, it's as easy as sending me an email and saying, hey, this is on GitHub. Can you please take a look? I'm really stuck on XYZ. I can't figure it out. I've tried these things and I'm still just stuck. Can you help? Because when you send me that GitHub link, then I can take a look at it and we're able to work together. We can add comments and it's very easy to point out what's going on. So that's how throughout the semester you're going to be adding new files and working through and adding everything to your base landing page GitHub repository you clone down in week 1. Hopefully that makes sense. I'll have a nice clickable tutorial and a nice PDF download as well for you guys to take a look and follow along if you ever need a reference back. Coming up in part 3, we're going to look at how to set up GitHub pages for our website for the semester. It's super easy. It's about 5 button clicks and then it's done and you never have to worry about it the rest of the semester as long as you're putting your code on GitHub. See how that works? GitHub's going to be our driving force instead of another web server. It's GitHub all day long. With that, I'll see you in the next video.